Hi, we are the Usserys, and we're here to tell our story about God's restoration in our life.
Friday, January 13th, 1995 was when our story of restoration really began. For my part, I was sitting in a doctor's office with my husband, Chris, who was being diagnosed with leukemia.
And on that same day, January the 13th of 1995, it was the Friday night, it was the evening, and I heard words from my wife, who was also my high school sweetheart. We'd been married for 12 years and had dated several years before that. We had 2 little girls together. And that evening, she came home from work and said, "I don't love you, and I do love somebody else, and I have no desire to be your wife or a mom to these kids."
I kept trying to form thoughts, to make a plan, to figure out what to do and how to handle this, but I couldn't even make my thoughts come together. I was paralyzed by fear at that point.
I couldn't imagine at the time that that really was His best plan for my life. But I had to get to the place where I understood that my foundation in Jesus Christ was not moving, it was not budging. He really was a God who loved me, who cared about me, who cared about my children, and I could place all of my faith and all of my trust in Him.
He reminded me there are times when you just have to trust me. You don't trust my plan. You don't even really trust my promises. You trust me. We didn't know each other, but that was really the beginning of our journey of restoration. The Steinway piano in the choir room in this church is holy ground. Because that was the moment, I do too, that was the moment that we first met each other. It was just kind of an instant sense of, I could become friends with this person. And we really did. I mean, our families became really good friends.
Terry's first husband, Chris, he and I went to lunch together, and at lunch, he looked across the table at me and said, "God is going to unite the 2 of you together. You need help with your daughters. Terry needs help with our sons. And I believe that God's going to bring you guys together." And here I'm looking at this dying man and hearing these words. My chin is on the floor. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was not a picture of restoration that we thought was going to happen. To me, restoration would have been that my first wife and I got back together and that Chris would have been healed here on earth. But God's restoration looked completely different for us. It was about 7 months after Chris passed away that God did unite our families together.
And then after we were married for 3 years, Joshua was born, and so then
Yours, mine, and ours.
Yours, mine, and ours, and after all that time, here we are. 14 years later, here we are.
He's actively involved in our life, and he really does know what's best for us, and he puts those pieces in place.
No matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, no matter how difficult or dismal your struggle today may be, he says, "I just want you to trust me because I've got this."